Good evening. You have just watched the virtual premiere of Yeva, brought to you by Gather at Home and its filmmakers. The exclusive Gather at Home live Q&A is about to begin. For those of you who have maximized the screening on your computer or streaming device, please take this moment to minimize the screening and direct your attention right below the screening and locate after the film, live Q&A. This is where you can ask your questions of the panel, view the Q&A, and also take part in the audience ballot where you get to rate the film. After you put in your ratings, don't forget to purchase a Yeva poster or handbag. We would like to thank those of you who made a donation when you made your reservation for tonight's event. Donations benefits the Halos Trust, whose mission is to protect lives and restore the livelihoods of those affected by conflict. They do this by recruiting and training local men and women to clear landmines in their own communities. With their earnings, they can rebuild their lives. For those of you who still wish to donate to this cause, please look below the Q&A section and make your donations there. Your support is greatly appreciated. Gather is always releasing events just like the one this evening, so make sure you keep an eye out for an upcoming event in your email. Now, please direct your attention to the live Q&A as Gather at Home is pleased to welcome Zareh, who is a film scholar who will be leading our Q&A this evening. Zareh?
I've been asked to introduce myself first. Obviously, I am Zareh Arevshatian. I'm a film scholar and researcher based in Los Angeles, California. I teach film studies at different campuses, and my area of interest is Armenian cinema. Just as a background, in 1993, I co-curated the first ever comprehensive film retrospective of Sergei Parajanov with the American Cinematheque in Los Angeles. And same year, I was also involved with the premieres of William Saroyan's short film, A Good Job, and Adam Maguirchian's Calendar at the Los Angeles Festival. I have worked at the American Film Institute for 6 to 7 years, and I'm now working at the Film and Television Department at UCLA, where I've been for the last 26 years. As much as I consider myself unqualified to do this, I've been asked to moderate today's panel. I'm truly honored and grateful to be given this opportunity to participate in tonight's panel discussion, especially given its unique and very important topic of Armenian women filmmakers in diaspora. Before we begin, though, there are some acknowledgements in order. Special thanks must go to the film's distributor, Venera Films, and to Gather Films, who put this virtual premiere event together and is also responsible for this live Q&A, which is being streamed live around the world. Now I think Anahid Abad can also add something else to her resume, having had, being the first Armenian film to have had this kind of a release or premiere, for the first time. Thanks also to Lala Yerem, who will be doing the translation for Anahid. Remember, Yeva is available on Vimeo on demand if you want to watch it again or recommend it to others. Hopefully you enjoyed it enough to do that. I would like to introduce today's panel very briefly, giving some information about them. Anahid Abad was born to an Armenian family in Tehran, Iran. She holds a bachelor's degree in film editing. During her career, she has served as first assistant director and planner to many film projects in Iranian cinema. She has cooperated with prominent directors, and since 2006, she has been a member of the Central Board of Assistant Directors and Program Planners Institute of Iranian Cinema. In 2010, she became the head of this institute. Yeva is her first feature film, but she has done documentaries on a variety of subjects, like the old Armenian cemetery of Tehran, the Alik Daily, My Kindergarten, Art, Iranian Armenians, Julfa and its people, and the Lara Kilisa Church in 2010. As I mentioned, Yeva is her first feature film as a director. Despite all the technical checks we've done, we are having problems with internet and connection issues in Iran. And unfortunately, at the moment, Anahid is trying very hard to join us. And we might have technical problems. Also, please keep in mind that because our panelists are in different locations, there might be an inherent delay in hearing them and the time it takes for them to respond. But especially in case of Anahid, we might even lose her halfway through. But we're doing our best to connect any which way we can, so that she can be a part of this. If in case we come to a point where we cannot speak with Anahid for whatever reason, you can chat. You can use the chat feature in Facebook Live to direct any questions you would have directly to her, and she'll be more than happy to answer them. After the panel, or maybe during, depending on how the connection is, with the internet over in Iran. So our next member of the panel is Nare Maguirchian, born in Armenia, raised in Los Angeles. Nare holds a bachelor's degree in film production from University of Southern California School of Cinematic Arts. She has written, directed, and produced over 60 short films. She was an executive producer and director at Hallmark Movies Now, where she produced content for such platforms as Netflix. In 2015, she directed The Other Side of Home, a documentary about a Turkish woman who discovers her Armenian roots and has to deal with a conflict of identity. The film follows her as she goes to Armenia to take part in the 100th anniversary commemoration of the genocide. The film remains the only Armenian genocide film to be shortlisted for the Oscars. Her passion is telling unique human stories that connect people and move beyond the boundaries of nationality, gender, and religion. And having seen that film, I vouch for that myself. Arsinée Khanjian, a multiple award-winning actress. Arsinée is internationally known for her work as a performer in film and on stage. She has starred in widely successful romantic comedy from Sabah, as well as playing Annie in Nare Maguirchian's Arat. Internationally, her screen work includes films with Catherine Deneuve, Ovi Asfest, and Taviani brothers, Fateh Akin, and Mikhail Haneke. As a filmmaker, Khanjian designed and created the thematic and formal concepts of Stone Time Touch, Reflections on Diaspora Armenian Relations. She has produced and starred in Calendar, the first foreign feature film shot in newly independent country of Armenia by Nare Maguirchian. She wrote, directed, and starred in the multimedia stage project on the life of survivor Aurora Mardiganian, Auction of Souls, Performing Memory at the Maxim Gorki Stadt Theater in Berlin for 4 consecutive years. She continues to be active as a volunteer for arts and community groups and is a board member of the Zorian Institute for International Genocide and Human Rights Studies. She's been decorated with numerous honors in recognition of her involvement and dedication to artistic, historic, and cultural causes in Canada and abroad, with the Queen's Golden Jubilee Medal, the Eastern Primacy of Armenian Apostolic Church of America, as well as the Armenian Catholicos of the Great House of Kilikia in Lebanon medals. Khanjian was presented with the 2005 Crystal Award for Creative Excellence by Women in Film and Television. In a recent poll conducted by Slate Magazine, she was voted Best Actress according to international critical response to her body of work. She spearheaded this within Armenia, a coalition of Armenians worldwide who were present as monitors during the elections in Armenia in 2017. As if none of this was enough, she was an active participant in Armenia's Velvet Revolution in 2018. Thank you, ladies, for joining us. Hope everybody's doing well under the circumstances. I really appreciate you taking the time for this panel discussion. There has been quite a lot happening the last 3 weeks. COVID-19 virus notwithstanding. That's been with us for like, I don't know, since March or whatever. There were Azerbaijani incursions into Armenia, which produced casualties. More reason to support Halo Trust. We had fairly strong earthquakes in Los Angeles this week. Hurricane Isaias along the Atlantic coast, wildfires, high temperatures, floods, Black Lives Matter still active and strong. And then, of course, the explosion in Beirut yesterday. If I may, I would like to direct my first question to Arsinée. Arsinée, my apologies to start with the sour note, but do you have any personal new information from Beirut?
Like all of my Lebanese compatriots, I think we are following the personal new information as it's sort of coming up every day. So both from the family, friends, the Beirut community of artists, and so on. So between yesterday and today, we found out at least 6 people who have died from the Armenian community. I have certainly artist friends who have also died in the because of the explosion. So and the number of the injured people, it's difficult to keep track because I mean, people are so stunned that they're trying to look into the situation, the emergencies, as opposed to necessarily communicating. It's very difficult to manage it all, and I think people are on the verge of losing their sanity to be doing things in order or logically. So today I think there was a bit of sort of solace for the Lebanese people or Beirut residents for sure with the arrival of the President Macron to Beirut. And I think that created a lot of emotional response because he was, believe it or not, the only official from all the way from France to come and visit the place where this tragedy, horrifying incident took place. So no official had yet from Lebanese government showed their presence. So it was a very particular day, I think, to figure out what it all means in terms of being in the trauma of this personal experience of the most unspeakable tragedy of dysfunction, of corruption that has really taken over literally the lives of people of all from all communities in Lebanon. So I think we're just not making a full picture quite yet of how this is all going to come together, if it can come together. But I think everyone is ready to say that things have to change in Lebanon, and the present regime is not a legitimate one to take care of the situation that the country has been, both economically with the pandemic and now this inexplicable explosion.
I don't know what to say. I mean, just like I had a class. I was doing a class remote, and I had not heard the news yet. And then all of a sudden, I got a text from a friend in France with a link that says, "Please look at this." That's all the text said. And I kind of had to wait until the class was over. So I was kind of late getting news anyway. And then, when I click on the link, the first image that comes to the front without any setup or introduction or anything is just this huge explosion with a mushroom cloud in the background. And the first thing I think, not knowing much about what's happening, is that, oh my goodness, they finally found ground film footage from Hiroshima, because it's the 75th anniversary of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And then the camera starts pulling back, and I realize, no, this is not Japan. This is, somewhere else. And then, of course, I gradually, get the information, and it was just horrific. I can't imagine what you and the residents of Beirut must be going through. My heart goes out to everyone affected. This, I know, unfortunately, there's not much I can do. I wish there was, and I know what it is, so I do it. And it's always devastating to get this news of these, things that happen, as if we're not going through enough, and especially in Lebanon, given the political situation, as you mentioned. I guess we have to wait and hope for the best. And if there's anything that we can do,
we can do something. We can do something in terms
please.
of really sending not only our, of course, sort of feelings of condolences and so on, but we can literally send financial help to Lebanon. And if anything, there was a time to do it. This is now the time to do it. But we have to be very careful about those the financial support that we send, that we don't send it to government organizations or institutions, that we look at our communities. I think the Armenian community is well organized at this point to accept donations. So whatever dollars, I mean, it doesn't have to be any particular amount. Every dollar means something at this point. The important thing is to make the donations to the right hands, and I think every community, Armenian community in North America or in Europe or wherever else in the world, can access to their connections and make sure that they can send the funds to Lebanon, because it is desperately needed, and it's really one sure way of supporting the people of Lebanon.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. I mean, if you've seen any footage of what has happened, you understand how important your donation will be, in this case. Again, I'm sorry that we had to start on this sad note, but unfortunately, facts are fact, and that's the reality of life. And this is, these are things that happen, and we have to deal with them. Thanks, Arsinée, for that input. I really appreciate it. And again, my sympathies to everyone, whether, in Lebanon or not, we're all connected somehow. So, so we should do what we can, and let's do it. Okay. All right. So we're going to start our panel discussion, but my first question is a very general question. Given the current situation of COVID virus and how we have been forced to isolate ourselves from whatever we're doing, from whoever we're doing it with, and being at home and going crazy, I was just curious to know how you ladies spend your time, at home. Are you working on a project? Are you doing something that you couldn't have done if this hadn't happened? Or, just a general idea. I'm just curious. I'm nosy. I want to know. So can we start with Nare first? Nare, what are you up to?
First of all, thank you for inviting me to be part of this panel, which I think is so important to talk about Armenian women in cinema. So thank you so much, Zareh. And very honored to be here with incredible women from Armenian cinema. Honestly, what happened in Beirut was also so heartbreaking for me, because Beirut has such a special place in my heart. because my grandparents were survivors of the Armenian genocide, and Beirut was the place that gave them life, an opportunity for life. So Beirut will always remain a very, very special place for me. So when the panel was supposed to happen, I was thinking, oh, is it still going to happen even after what happened in Beirut? But then I realized that film is so important to connect humanity and to talk about stories, issues that are so important. And I feel like what the situation with COVID is also teaching me, and hopefully teaching others, is how we're all so deeply interconnected, no matter where we are. And to answer your question is, I'm working on developing that connection even more. I am having an internal journey, which hopefully will help with films that I create, because our films are the reflections of ourselves. So even though I am working on a few projects, one is about our favorite, Aznavour. His life story is very important and interesting to me. And having the opportunity to meet him, I am so interested to tell a different story about Aznavour. Another project I'm working on is the Hakawati project, which is in collaboration with Sundance Labs and the Film Independent. And what we're going to do is a 2-month comprehensive filmmaking labs for people impacted by the Syrian crisis. But beyond that, I feel like I'm just taking this time to be without feeling guilty for just being. And as you said, for doing things that I wouldn't have the opportunity to have done otherwise.
Great, thank you. Arsinée? Arsinée, you have something you want to add, or you have something you want us to know?
Actually, it has been a very strange, introspective time for me. And from the beginning of the pandemic, I just realized that there is a very big difference between the time that one needs to allocate to oneself by isolating so that we can carry out the work we need to do, be it writing, be it whatever inspirational to come out with, and the reality of something that is imposed as a space and as a time where you don't control that isolation. And it has been very difficult for me to make philosophical sense of that. So I've been reading a lot about the nature of the human ability to adjust to external circumstances where we really don't have control. And this has been an interesting time in my career as well, where I have realized that really like the whole planet in a way has very little control on the circumstances of the pandemic, and how this invisible force of nature, I guess, is really taking hold of our ability to think that we are masters of our will and fate in that sense. So it's been a difficult time, I have to say, to be creative, but certainly a very interesting time to be thinking a lot. But also what has been really interesting to find out is, because our film Guest of Honor that Adam Goran directed and it was actually shown just before the pandemic at different festivals in Europe. It was in New York. It did an opening in New York. We were in Belgrade, London. So suddenly everything stopped. We couldn't continue with that process of showing the film, as we have all our lives with our colleagues always following the same path of finishing a film and then taking them to festivals and then having openings in theaters. All of that suddenly stopped and changed, and I think for a good while now. So we had to figure out what it meant to release the film, because we still had distribution, and the distribution happened in a very different way, which is now online through the Kino Lorber, who is the distributor in the States, and except Sweden and Taiwan, who released the film in theaters, there has been other physical distribution other than the online options. Fortunately, Criterion has now taken on all of Adam's first 6 or 7 feature films. So there is a collection there that is being shown as such. But in terms of new work, we have no idea how we will be able to go back to that mode of shooting a film or showing a film wherever it is, if a festival or is sort of in terms of distribution. Our son just started shooting today his first short film, and that will be an interesting experience to hear from, because there are all the protocols of COVID, of course, that have to be implemented. So we are in this very introspective and questioning period of wondering what we're doing and how we're going to be doing it in the future, and what does it mean to the young generation, the new generation of filmmakers or artists. Theaters are still closed, so I had a couple of projects that were lined up for plays as such I was going to perform in, but for now there is nothing that can go ahead on for another year and a half at least. So it's very strange times in terms of figuring out what it means to be a performance artist and a filmmaker.
Thank you, Arsinée. I really appreciate it. We have Anahid. Hopefully, we can hear her as well without any problems. So, same question to Anahid. How has she been dealing with COVID? By herself in that house.
Anahid, ուրախ եմ արդեն միացա, այս COVID-ի ընթացքին նախ ուրախ եմ բոլորին տեսնելու, շատ ուրախ եմ ու լավ ալիցավ, որ հանդիպեցինք։ Լալա, ձայնս ունես։
Այո, լսում եմ։ Անահիտ, ուրեմն հարցը հետևյալն էր, որ նկատի ունենալով այս ժամանակաշրջանը, որ մենք բոլորս պարտավոր ենք ինչ-որ կերպ տանը ավելի երկար ժամանակ անցկացնենք, ձեր ժամանակը ինչպես է անցնում եւ արդյոք ինչ-որ պրոջեկտի վրա աշխատում եք։
Այո, ես էլ բոլոր մարդկանց նման տանն եմ եղել ընդհանրապես ինչ ասեմ, լրիվ տանն եմ, շատ տարօրինակ հետաքրքիր փորձություն էր բոլորիս համար եւ բայց գիտեք մի լավ կողմ ուներ այդ փորձը որ մարդ մենակ է մնում տանը նա եւ փորձում է մենակության եւ տանը փակված վիճակում գտնի հավաքական կյանքը
It has been definitely very unusual times for all of us, a lot of changes we had to go through. One positive thing that this not very positive event has had in our lives, in my opinion, is just the ability to be ourselves and to spend time with our family as a whole.
Կարդացել եմ, ֆիլմ եմ նայել եւ այդ բոլորը եւ աշխատել եմ նոր պրոյեկտիս վրա COVID-ը նաեւ իմ երկրորդ ֆիլմս, որը ամբողջապես պատրաստ էր, արդեն մենք պետք է նկարահանման process-ը սկսեինք, դա պրոյեկտը ընդհանրապես կասեցվեց։ Ես հիմա աշխատում եմ մի նոր պրոյեկտի վրա, սեցինարը ավարտվել է եւ բաջետն եմ ապահովում, բաջետի մի մասն են ապահովել է։ Դրանով եմ զբաղված։
So I've been spending my time on reading, on watching films, and of course working on my next project. My second film, feature film, was going to we're going to start a production, but because of the coronavirus, we had to stop that, unfortunately. However, I am working on my third feature film project, working on the script. It is ready, and hopefully we'll begin the production soon. Looking to the budget, half of the budget is already provided. Hopefully we'll be able to provide the next half.
Great, thank you very much. It's good news from everybody to know that you're still active and you're working. Haven't given up yet. Good. I have a list of questions, and I'm just given the the rarity of this kind of this opportunity that we get, I don't really know which ones to ask. But the first question I'm going to ask officially is I'm sorry if it sounds idiotic, but given the context of this panel tonight, I'm going to ask this question just to establish some preconceived notions or kind of destroy those preconceived notions about certain things. So my question to you ladies is that what are some common misconceptions people have of women filmmakers or artists in general? With all the stuff that's happening with the Me Too movement and all these changes that people are asking to be made, we all know that a big institution like Hollywood is very much a boys' club. Women, unfortunately, do not have that much presence. And I'm not even talking about diversity. I'm just talking about women. And I was wondering if you can address that. And it's like, to me, it honestly doesn't make a difference if the director is a man or a woman. Of course, the sensibilities might be noticeable in how they treat characters and the storylines. But other than that, just directing a movie is directing a movie. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman or a Martian. It just, to me, it's a non-issue. But for some reason, people seem to have this misconception that women are lesser of directors than men are. How would you address that issue, ladies? Can I start with Arsinée, please? Oh, Nare, doesn't matter.
Arsinée or
Nare is on I asked Arsinée, but since you're on the front, so let's go with Nare.
Sure, sounds great.
Go ahead.
Even that word misconception, I love that, because yes, it is absolutely a misconception. And I feel like it's so great that we are changing that misconception by every single film that we make and every time we step on a film set. I remember when I first started as a producer and director, and I was going on set as a producer, every time I would be asked, are you the production designer or are you the makeup artist? And it was really interesting to me that people didn't see me as being the producer because I'm a young woman and I'm pretty tiny and I'm spoken. So you're not used to the fact that we come in shapes and we can be soft-spoken or we can be speaking loudly, but it doesn't really matter. And I feel like it's so interesting. That's what was interesting to me, that when it comes to men, we are used to all kinds of male directors, but when it comes to women, we're not used to that. And I remember that in the beginning I was upset, but not upset because I was thinking that, oh, they shouldn't think I'm the makeup artist. I think the makeup artist and the production designer are doing equally important jobs, but I was just sad that there was the misconception. But then I realized that instead of being upset about that, I should be changing how people see women when it comes to being a director and when it comes to being a producer or any role they're playing in film industry. And even with The Other Side of Home, my documentary, every single time that I would do a Q&A, I would always receive the same response from men who would come up to me and they would say, it was so brave of you to go to Turkey and make this film, which was really sweet, but it was also, again, something that I wanted to change, that yes, I can be a female and I can wear a dress and I can wear heels when I'm doing my Q&A, but I can also be okay with going to Turkey and making a film about a topic that is powerful and critical. So I think it's very small things that I'm talking about when it comes to the misconception, but I think even those small things of how we are being looked at as women is also important to be addressed. But overall, of course, that the fact that we can't make decisions or our voice is not equally important is absolutely a misconception, because we complete each other and all of the voices are so important and necessary.
Fantastic. Arsinée?
Generally in the arts and historically, when we look back at the history of art, we realize that women have been absent in a very major way. Except in some forms, perhaps dance, perhaps song, music, not necessarily performance of instruments, but I'm talking about singing. And maybe in literature we have had women more prominently present. But in terms of visual arts and in terms of certainly the filmmaking, that the form did not sort of become accessible to women until much, much later, and still not in a very relevant way in terms of numbers. Even though, of course, we had eventually a star system that was created, and actresses were a very important presence for the industry, but never as the creators per se. They would be very much loved and appreciated as interpreters, but not as creators. And perhaps what you were saying, Zareh, in terms of that sensibility that initially cinema sort of projected as a form, maybe the stories or the way the stories you would tell was not formally being of interest to audiences or producers to start with. But today I was just thinking for a moment in terms of that question of women in cinema, and when we look at French cinema, for instance, there was a list of the BBC that came up not long ago about the 100 most important women filmmakers. And I think that list was put together because of the Me Too sort of movement and so on. And it was interesting that there was a large number of French women filmmakers who were part of that list. So I was thinking, I mean, how much also culturally the role of women in terms of their creative voice is being appreciated in each culture. If we're talking about Armenian women in cinema per se, since we are talking about Armenian filmmakers today, well, I can say that generally that would have been a very difficult sort of foray, because be it acting other than community theaters, the whole form of the artistic pursuit itself has not been, especially also in the diaspora and after the genocide, in general, the arts other than music has not been, and filmmaking has not been a very sort of encouraged medium for individuals, for artists to pursue. So I think that this notion of cultural context is a very important one to understand, of how much where women have historically been present or not. But certainly today there is a more universal sort of discourse about the language and the body language that is present on screen, not only through performances, but body language as in the formal exploration of cinema, and that women have a particular language and perspective to present, which is being solicited and being appreciated with awareness by audiences and the society in general. Numbers are not still at par, but I think there is a serious address to improve that situation.
Yeah, thank you very much. Actually, thank you even for bringing up cultural context, because that'll be my next question. But now I want to ask the same question from Anahid, especially from Anahid, because she is in Iran, and in Iran, I mean, the circumstances from every side is very different. How women are seen and how women are treated, especially in her case, being an Armenian woman in Iran, a minority. I know, you might argue that Armenians are in much better shape than any other minority in Iran. They have the advantage of cultural presence. But I'm just curious to know that I knew what she had to go through to get where she is now. So, but my question is, why is that? I mean, why is it that men, especially people who run these foundations or control the money sources, are always, most of them are men, look at women very differently. I mean, there are Iranian filmmakers who are almost always in trouble. I mean, there's Tahmineh Milani, poor woman, is in jail every 6 months, and she hasn't even done a movie. But I want to defer that to Anahid, to hear from her, to hear her side of the story.
Անահիտ, ուրեմն հարցը այսպես էր արձարծված, որ արդյոք որոնք են այն կարծրատիպերը, որ գոյություն ունեն կին գործիչների հետ կապված, մասնավորապես եւ ընդհանրապես կին արտիստների հետ կապված։ Եվ Զարեն նաև հարցնում է ձեր մասնավորապես փորձառության հետ կապված Իրանում քանի որ նկատվում է, որ այնտեղ միգուցե մի քիչ ավելի կարծրատիպերը ավելի շատ են եւ միգուցե ինչ որտեղ շատ էլ լավ չի վերաբերմունքը կանանց արտիստ կանանց նկատմամբ հարցնում եմ Զարեն որ ինչն է պատճառը
նախ կարծում եմ որ աշխարհի ամեն տեղում կարծրամտությունը եւ հետամնացությունը ինքը խանգարիչ է եւ շատ չի տարբերվում Իրանում կամ որևիցե տեղ մի քիչ է տարբերվում, բայց շատ չի տարբերվում, էգուչանը չի տարբերվում եւ որ պետք է նախ հաստատի իր դիրքը եւ տեղը ու հետո կարողանա շարժվի առաջ մեկ հատ հարցի խնդիր կա ամենտեղ Իրանում էլ իր տեսակը իրանական տեսակը ես միշտ ասում եմ Իրանում կին լինելը բավականաչափ դժվար է հայ կին լինելը ավելի դժվար է այլախոհ լինելը շատ ավելի դժվար է ես կարծում եմ հիմնական խնդիրը հենց այլախոհ լինելն է երբ այլախոհ ես կյանքը մի քիչ դժվար է լինում ուր որ լինես Իրանում են նույնպես բայց մեկը փաստ հետևյալն է որ ես հենց Իրանում աշխատում եմ ու կամ դժվար եմ աշխատում հեշտի լինում ֆիլմ նկարելը եւ ինքս աշխատելը բայց մեկը ստացվում է բայց ասում եմ հիմնականում այլ կերպ մտածելը դա ամենից դժվարն ես այստեղ մի հուշ պատմեմ գուցե համապարփակ կարողանամ միտքս փոխանցեմ ես մեկ ֆիլմում երկրորդ ռեժիսոր էի ֆիլմը մեծ production էր եւ պատերազմի մասին էր ամբողջը հարց ունեի որ ո՞ր կարելի է նման ֆիլմի երկրորդ ռեժիսորը կին լինի եւ ընդ որում հիմնականում ընկերներ իմ բոյս կաճը ես 150 սանտ բոյ ունեմ ու բոյս էլ 150 սանտ ժամանակ չէի մտածում որ իմ բոյս էլ խնդիր կարելի է լինի որից այդտեղ ներկայանալու բայց այդպես է այդ տղամարդիկ ես պետք է ներկայանայի Իրանի Խուզեստան նահանգում եւ որ ինձի ընդունեին այսպես որ կամ եւ ես իմ ասիստենտից ասեցի որ ալաչոր որ պետք է մասովկա եւ այդ հսկայական բանակի խոսեի ասի գնայ մեկ հատ տեղ իմ համար դասավորի որի վրա ես կանգնեմ ու խոսեմ հետեւաբար նմանորինակ ես այս հուշը պատմեցի որպեսզի փոխանցեմ այնինչ բարդ ճամփան որ մենք պարտավոր ենք կտրենք աշխարհի ամենտեղ նույն հարց Հայաստանում այլ կերպ մի քիչ խնդիր կար ոնց կարելի է հենց Եվայի պարագայում այսքան բարդ պրոյեկտ ուզենա կատարի եւ էկրանում մարդիկ կային որ ասենք պատասխանատուներ կային որ ասի մեկը չէին հավատում կստացվի նպատակը տևյալն է որ աշխարհում Ամերիկայի նման երկրից մինչև Իրանի նման երկրում կանայք իրենց տեղը գրավելու համար մեծ ջանք են թափում տղամարդիկ համեմատ տղամարդկանց կանանց 10 անգամ ավելի պարտավոր են աշխատեն Լալա ջան ներողություն երկար խոսեցի դու ես ամենը պետք է թարգմանեմ
I will try my best to remember everything and translate all right, let's start. I think that this is a problem. The stereotyping is a universal problem, and in different countries, we still see these stereotypes. And when it comes to women in Iran, we always say that it is very difficult to be a woman in Iran. It is even much more difficult to be an Armenian woman in Iran, and it is especially extremely difficult to be a woman who goes against the flow. And perhaps that is the issue, going against the flow. But I am in Iran. I am working as a woman Armenian director, and I think that is a proof that it is possible to do it. She also mentioned that about a memory that she had when she was participating in a production, very big production in Iran. It was about a war. It was a war movie, and she said that since I'm very short, I had to kind of. First of all, everyone was very surprised that I was the second director of that film, and when I was talking to the back artists, a very large group of people, I had to ask for a stand to be able to present basically that I was capable of doing that. Everyone was surprised that I was the second director of a movie in that scale. She also mentioned that she had the same experience when filming Yeva in Armenia, and everyone was kind of like hesitant to see that was possible to film from a woman director. But again, this is an issue that she thinks it's universal, and going against the flow is the problem. But it's possible to do it.
Yeah, thank you. Now, again, I want to go back to something that Arsinée brought up again, the cultural context of things, and I think this is probably it's a very important issue. Please forgive me if it sounds very sophomoric. This is just like, but it might be something obvious, but actually it's much more complicated than it seems on the surface. I'm working on this project on Ruben Mamoulian. I'm doing his biography, and what I came across is that Mamoulian in public never mentioned that he was Armenian, but he was a very proud Armenian. He was very much in tune with what was happening. He was getting newspapers. He was attending, community activities and things like that. So, but none of that was obviously publicized. And a lot of people, even to this very day, they think he's Russian. In one little snippet of an interview that I came across, he said that he wants his work to stand on its own. And it shouldn't really bother anyone or be of concern to anyone whether the person who did that work was Armenian. Now, my question is, how much of you being an Armenian counts, or does it at all? We talk about cultural context here, so here it is. And then, kind of offshoot of that, do you think, as an Armenian filmmaker, do you have the responsibility or the burden of addressing Armenian issues? I'm just gonna, start with Arsinée because she brought it up, and also I want to just give Anahid some time, to get the question. So Arsinée, if you don't mind.
It's a very timely question, in as much as it's not a new question, but it is always timely to bring it up again every decade at least, in that sense. I think if we look at the Armenian cinema of the diaspora in particular, it's a different history, the cinema of the Soviet Republic of Armenia and whatever came out from there, which was very important in terms of our also history of cinema. But I can speak more easily and comfortably about the history of the diaspora in terms of cinema, in as much as I've been part of it. And I have realized that now that it's been about 35 years counting that I'm involved in film, and I know what is the importance of making films as an artist, as an Armenian artist, as an Armenian woman artist in that sense. I know that, for instance, 35 years ago, there was this very prescient question of how do we represent our history. There was the responsibility, there was the obligation, there was the expectation that we had to make films about our history, of course, meaning the Armenian genocide. In particular, I remember when I met Atom and he was only 23 and he had made his first feature, Next of Kin. Armenians who saw the film were, whatever, if convinced or not, I am not sure. But the most urgent question was, when are you going to make a real film? Literally using that adjective or adverb of real, adjective, real film. And for them, the real film was about making a film about the Armenian genocide. So Adam did not make that real film until Ararat, with about 4, 5, 6 films in between in that sense. And for the community of Armenians around the world, this was from filmmakers' perspective, this was sort of a way of establishing yourself as a filmmaker if you made that film. But of course, what was always also a difficulty is that that film that was being made was never to the full satisfaction of any Armenian community, because we could not with one film tell all the stories and all the emotional baggage that Armenians expected. So and because we started making films later as a community in the diaspora again, and we started talking about the Armenian genocide much later, we never sort of caught up with that accumulation of films that would satisfy the expectation of the community. So the ones who made films outside of the obligation of the Armenian genocide were either not necessarily recognized or acknowledged by the Armenian community, or dismissed in a way as not being sort of important names to retain, because they may have been Armenian, but they didn't talk about Armenian questions. But today that question has changed. I think we do have filmmakers who are still very, a lot of documentary filmmakers, animation, fiction, who are very still interested in the history documentation in filmmaking or rendition. But also we have filmmakers who are not necessarily following those particular historical events, but they're doing a lot of work on more social issues and political issues and subjects that are of more, I wouldn't say the Armenian genocide is not universal by its history, but maybe the topics are can be perceived in many different other cultures in that sense. So like when we look at, for instance, a festival like Gin International Film Festival, I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but it's a festival that exists for a number of years now in Armenia. And you look at the number of Armenian filmmakers also who are participating, it's very interesting the variety of topics that these women are addressing. And Anahid's film is part of that sort of tradition in a very accomplished way, obviously, to talk about present day issues in a place like Artsakh, and in a topic that can concern a lot of people because of this situation, political situation between two countries and a border town that has to live the reality of violence that can be any moment taking hold of their lives. So I think we are opening up as a community of artists from Armenian origin to sort of address other issues than just the responsibility of making a film about the Armenian genocide, without forgetting it necessarily, but also being interested in other subjects.
That's fantastic. I mean, I would love to sit down and talk to you and Adam about all of this at some later point if I ever get the opportunity. But yes, I remember exactly what you said about Arat. That was I saw it when it premiered at the American Film Institute Festival here in Los Angeles, and you guys were here as well. And at the end, I mean, I love that movie. And then at the end of the film, when people were walking out, the elders in the audience, they were literally scratching their head, trying to figure out what that was, because they had come in hopes of seeing the movie within the movie, not what Adam had made.
Exactly.
And that was not the point, of course. The point was something completely different. But yeah, I mean, today maybe the perception might be different. I hope it is. Yeah, I'm absolutely with you that things are changing. Mariam Ohanian, who runs the King Festival in Yerevan, she is working with like a $500 budget. She has absolutely no money coming from the government to support that. And yet she's been doing it for the last 8-9 years, I believe.
8 years, yeah.
And it's 8 years. And it's amazing, again, like you said, the number of films by women filmmakers from around the world, and especially Armenian filmmakers, of course, Armenian women filmmakers, who kind of participate by showcasing their films. I'm, when it comes to Armenian cinema, I'm kind of a pessimist myself. But thanks to women, women have really brought a new breed of films that are just killing left and right. I mean, just short or long, feature, documentary, it doesn't really matter. And just like, I really want to see more of that because I don't see any hope coming out of those guys who are doing all those stupid TV shows. Anyway, Nare, what about you? I'm just buying time for Anahid to get the question and then, respond. So Nare, please.
That's great. Or should we let Anahid? Okay, Anahid, I'll go ahead.
Okay.
This one.
Yeah, they're Badaskan.
Okay, Anahid.
Yes. Listen. Love. Ես էլ լրիվ համաձայն եմ Արսենեի հետ, մենք պատասխանատու ենք մեզ եւ մեր ժողովրդին ներկայացնելու։ Տեսեք ավելի հարցը բարձրացնելով, մենք բարդ հարցը բարձրացնելով, այսինքն ավելի կարծում եմ ճիշտ կստացվի։ Մենք կինո ենք նկարում մեզ ներկայացնելու մեր հայրենիքը մեր ինքնուրույնության մի մասն է եւ դա պետք է դրսեւորվի եւ մեր պատմությունն է, մշակույթն է, մեր մտածողությունն է, մեր ճաշակն է, այս բոլորը մեր ֆիլմերում պետք է մատակարարվի։ Թեթևս Արարատի նման ֆիլմը, որ իրա նկարել է հերոսություն է, գուցե ամեն ինչի ստացվում, բայց ամեն պրոյեկտներում չի ստացվում, բայց ժողովրդի հասարակական, մշակութային եւ ինքնուրույնությունը դարձնենք թեմա։ Աֆրիկացին իրա, էթիոպացին իրա ժողովրդին է ներկայացնում, արաբը կուլտուրայից է խոսում, պարսիկը իրա կուլտուրայից, հայն էլ խոսի իրա կուլտուրայից, իրա ընտանիքից, իրա տնից, իրա շրջապատից, ու ես կարծում եմ այդպես որ շատ բան ենք կարող մտակարենք եւ վերջին տարիներին բարեբախտաբար լավ շարժում է այդպես եւ իսկապես կանանց նկարած եւ ֆիլմերը եւ ներկայությունը նոր երանգ եւ նոր տեսակի ներկայություն է։ Մենք եթե այդ հարթակով հայ կինո արվեստագետները բոլոր բնակավարներում մտածեն, հետևաբար շատ բան կստացվի։ Իհարկե մենք ցավոք սրտի դե տարիները մեր գաղութների ղեկավարությունը, կինոյի կարևորությունը եւ այս արվեստը մեր մշակութային համակարգում դեռ եղած ներկայություն որպես արտադրություն, որպես արդյունք գոյություն ունի, Հայաստանում էլ դեռ այդքան կինոն որպես արվեստ կարևորություն ունի, բայց բավականաչափ դրական շարժեր է նկատվում։ Եվ ես ասում եմ, հերիք կա մեզ նայենք, մենք ինչ ենք, ես հայ մարդ եմ, հայ ընտանիքից մեծացած, հետևաբար դրա մասին եթե խոսեմ, ահագին բան եմ կարող իմ ժողովրդից ներկայացնեմ։ Այսօր աշխարհում շատ մարդիկ սկի հայ չեն իմանում, որ հայ ժողովուրդը ինչ է, որ իր պատմությունը ինչ է, ինչ մշակույթ ունի, ինչպես է մտածողություն, ինչ մտածողություն ունի։ Ու վերում այստեղ ավելացնեմ, ես մտածում եմ մարդկանց նմանությունը այս մոլորակում շատ ավելի շատ է, քան տարբերությունները։ Եվ եթե մենք խոսենք մեր նմանությունների մասին, ավելի թերևս հաջողենք կապ հաստատելու մարդկության հետ, մարդկային թեմաներ։ Լալա ջան, իսկապես շնորհակալ եմ, բայց չեմ կարողանում ընդհատեմ միտքս։
Okay, got him. Lavaguin Starkmanem. Okay, so I agree with Arsinée. We feel obligated and responsible for introducing Armenian issues, Armenian history, like, for example, Ararat, very courageous film to make, and Armenian. Being an Armenian talks about our identity, our culture, the way of thinking that we have. And if we can just talk about that, that means that we can introduce Armenians around the world. It doesn't have to be a particular historical event. So if we just talk about who we are, our daily lives, and our cultures and our identity, then that talks about who Armenians are. Like many different directors around the world from different countries, the same thing, they all bring their part of who they are, who their what their identity is, what they bring as their culture. However, we should also understand that we human beings around the world, we look like each other more. The differences that we have, the similarities that we have are more than our differences. And I think that also connects us, that can connect us more, that can bring us together more. She also mentioned something about understanding the importance of making films. We have to understand that as a nation, both in Armenia and in the diaspora, as an industry, not just as a form of creation of art, but to understand that we need to have this as an industry, a very robust industry that will give us an opportunity to talk about who we are as Armenians. I hope I was able to bring up whatever Anahid says.
Yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Nare, I'm sorry to say that you don't have much time, but you can be very snappy. I know it's not fair. I'm sorry, but in answering the question, and then I have two questions from the viewers, and then we have to wrap this up because we're going to show two reels right after this panel discussion, and hope you stay with us to watch those two reels afterwards. So Nare, I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but please go ahead.
Yes, I'll be very quick because especially I absolutely agree with both of the wonderful guests, what they said. Being Armenian is part of the fabric, a big part of our identity, and I feel a huge responsibility of telling stories about us, about who we are, about Armenia. And while Arsinée was talking about Ararat, I was actually laughing because I was thinking that I'm happy I made the real film already and I can move on to other topics. But I also wanted to say Ararat, I think, was one of the most important films made about the Armenian genocide, even if so many people wanted to see the film inside the film. But I think all the layers that it had was so incredibly important. And as an Armenian, it's so important to have people like you and Autumn to look up to, who represent the Armenian identity and the Armenian cinema so beautifully. And also with Anahid, so grateful that you are being so brave and talking about topics not only about minds, but about being an Armenian woman, about issues that are still holding us hostage to fly. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Nare. I thank you everyone for taking part in this, discussion. I'm sorry that it's, we have to cut it short. Hopefully we can continue this in a later time, in a much more, time-free zone, so to speak. There's so much, yet to be covered, especially one of the questions from the viewers is that, is there a difference now after the revolution, the Velvet Revolution, that is, between, in participation of women filmmakers, or not? If anybody wants to voluntarily, answer that question, you're more than welcome to do that. And one more question, just basically very specific question from about Yeva, is that why does Yeva turn herself in at the end of the movie instead of staying with her daughter and taking care of her? So the first question, anyone?
Well, I would like to say that the issue of women's status and condition in Armenia has been a very problematic and difficult question for me for many, many years. And even though my engagement has been in a way, in terms of civil society sort of participation, more recognized from political perspective and so on, but women's issues have been going on, and we've been witnessing for very many years. It is in the cultural fabric, unfortunately, and I know that there are in Armenia organizations and individuals who day and night work towards improving the status and the respect towards the lives of women all over and all around the country. There is something culturally very difficult to change. If the revolution has addressed that question, I would say that there is definitely an awareness within the present government and the leaders of the country about those issues. They are more attentive, perhaps, and in general, because they are paying more attention to social issues, from poverty to other extremes, such as the way women are treated. I think there is a more positive, even though certainly not enough yet to call it a complete change. The problem remains very prominent in Armenia. Abuse, harassment, killings are still possible realities, and so that's why I would like to say a word about Yeva, which has, as a film, has such an incredible ability to tell through a narrative, a drama, the reality of the status of one woman in the context of the larger political and historical reality of Armenia and Artsakh. And I think that Anahid has done an amazing service in presenting these topics that they need one film, if not more, each independently, to bring them together and present these issues of survival, be it culture, be it a community, or the one of an individual, of a woman, in such a beautiful way to present it to us as a dramatic project film. So I think these kind of films are the films that we need to see further in terms of exploring our Armenian society, our Armenian reality today as it stands. And it would definitely make a big difference for audiences to see this kind of films, to become aware of the kind of persecution that we are guilty of as a society of the women who are the bastion of our culture.
I couldn't agree with you more. I always felt that Yeva is not a film about Artsakh, even though Artsakh is in the background, but it is a film about Armenian women. There are different types of women presented in the film. You know, you have all these issues of abuse, abortion, the way the women are seen in a patriotic family, and so on and so forth by men, especially. It's just a wonderful examination of the status of women as a microcosm of a larger view of what is happening in our society. And yes, we need to see more films like that. And please, get the word out there that we need more films like this. Now, the last question, and this is it, because we have to go to a reel, was for Anahid, and very specifically, why does Yeva leave her daughter at the end and not stay with her? We don't have audio. Is she on mute?
Sorry. Zareh հիմա լսում եք, ինձ ունեք։ Այո, այո։ Ես սա իմ եւ Զարեի բանն է, ու հաճելի տարակարծություն է։ Շնորհակալ եմ Արսինեից Եվայի մասին գնահատականները, շատ համարս կարևոր է իր տեսակետը։ Իսկ ինչի Եվան Նարեին թոնում է ու հանձնվում է։ Եվան Նարեին թոնում է այնտեղ, որտեղ կարող է Նարեն իր ճամփան պարտավոր է կտրի։ Պարտավոր է այդ տարիքից արդեն դեմ հանդիման որպես կին, որպես երեխա, որպես հայ երեխա դեմ հանդիման կանգնի այդ իրականության հետ։ Բայց եւ Եվան են նույնը, Եվան գնում է հանձնվելու, գնում է պատասխանատվություն կրի եւ ուղիղ ճակատով նայի այն ինչի համար, որ ինքը դատապարտվում է։ Ու սա հենց ինքը հանդուգն քայլ է Եվայի համար։ Եվան փոխարեն փախչի պատմության մեջ անընդհատ խնդիրը թոնել կանգնում է լուծելու։ Դա այն լուծումն է, որ ես ֆիլմում մտածել եմ, որ անեմ, բայց ստացվի արվի, բայց հենց այդ եմ մտածում, որ մենք պետք է շոշափենք մեր ժողովրդի հարցերը։ Լալա ջան, ես կանգնեմ, դու թարգմանի ու երկրորդ մասը ներողություն։ Զարե ջան, գիտեմ ժամ չունես, բայց փոքր երկրորդ մաս ասա։
Shinoraganam, I would like to say thank you to Arsinée. It's very important for me to know what you think about Yeva. As far as the little girl that is basically left behind by Yeva. The reason that I wanted to show her in that situation is because I wanted to show that even in that age, as a woman, a girl is faced with the reality of her life, of her life's challenges. And I wanted to show that. As far as Yeva, I wanted her to again face what, show courage to face what the consequences of what had happened to her. If I let her go with her daughter, that would be escaping from the reality, from what had happened. But I didn't want that. I didn't want her to escape from the reality, from that event.
زاره جان یه سوسمه ای
can we have to end, so if we can continue what you have to say to me afterwards, because we're going to have to stay for a few minutes afterwards. I want to thank the panelists, sincerely for, devoting their time for this discussion. I really appreciate all of the members, Arsinée, Nare, Anahid, and Lala, and everybody else behind the scenes working. Thank you very much. Thank you, audience, for, being part of this. I hope you enjoyed the film. I hope you enjoyed the panel discussion. If you are interested in more, events like this, please let us know. And we'll try our best to arrange more, stuff like this. So at this point, I'm going to ask the audience. The panel is going to stay, behind the scenes, and I'm going to ask the audience just to indulge for a few more minutes. We have a behind-the-scenes production clip from Yeva. And again, thank you very much, and have a wonderful evening.
Ali. میکنی